This is our writing lesson for Wednesday. Our focus of today's writing lesson is about paragraphs. The reason why we're focusing on paragraphs is because as we've been looking at your writing, we've noticed that a few of you need some help with organising your information into paragraphs, or your information is quite short. So for your informative text about your country, we would expect your paragraphs to include more than one sentence about each topic. We're going to be looking at my writing today. My writing is going to be a mentor text. Your writing doesn't need to look exactly like mine. My information is presented in a report. Yours doesn't need to be a report. You could do it in your poster or you could do it on Google Slide. It's up to you. But we're going to be looking at my paragraphs today and how I've organised my information into paragraphs. This text is up on the wall in the Learning Hub. So if you're at school, you can see it there. Otherwise, you can see it here. I've uploaded it for you to have a look at. So this is my text. I'm going to get my pen. You can see that I've got my title. My title's very simple. It's just called Australia, and it's got the name of the author underneath. Then I've got my introduction. I'm not going to focus on the introduction today because that's for another lesson. But I've got my introduction, and then you can see that I've got a map underneath. Underneath the map, I've got a little box here with some short fun facts, and I've got a picture of the flag. What I'd really like us to focus on today is these little sections here where I've organised my information. So you might remember in your success criteria that there were certain things that you needed to include. One of them was history. Another one was about religion, wildlife, geography, so on. Let's have a look at this section here where I'm talking about the history of Australia. When I was researching, I found lots and lots and lots of information about the history of Australia. I could have written pages and pages about the history of Australia, but the history is only one section of my report. If I did that, it would have gone on for far too long. So I had to be really careful about the information that I included so that my text wasn't too long. You will need some help with this when you're researching to know what information is important to include and what parts to cut out. So mum or dad or your teacher might help you with that. I'm going to read this section out for you now. The first Australians are the Aboriginal or Indigenous people. Aboriginal people have been in Australia for between 40,000 to 70,000 years. The first fleet arrived in Australia in 1788. The first fleet came to Australia because Australia was a penal colony, a place for convicts to come and work as punishment for their crimes. The gold rush brought many more people to Australia. The population grew and the people decided to become a country independent from Britain. I've only talked about Aboriginal people, the first fleet, and what brought many more people to Australia. That was the information that I saw as being the most important. What I'd like you to have a look at are my paragraphs. So I didn't just write this information in a big block of text. This first paragraph is about Aboriginal people, only about Aboriginal people in Australia. The second paragraph is only about the first fleet. The third paragraph is the population growing and about the gold rush. So every time I change topics, I change paragraphs so that my information is broken up into sections.